Unreal stuff by those Dodgers. You know that they are built for this. Series by series, it became evident throughout this postseason. Doug Glanville still here with us on Sports Center.
Wow.
And just the championship medal, where did you see it most from this Dodger squad?
Well, you see it in their starting rotation, their pitchers. And, there was a little bump in the road somewhat when earlier in the series, the Blue Jays were out pitching them to some degree when you talk about the starters. Blake Snell was kind of struggling, but Yamamoto was that anchor. He became the de facto ace of this. And they came back around now in Game 7 where everybody contributed from that rotation. They became their own relievers. And that really separated them from the Blue Jays.
Talk about Yamamoto, though, because this is a guy, we said it a couple times there, pitched in Game 6 and yet comes back in Game 7 and does what he does. Put into context what Yoshinobu Yamamoto is doing in this postseason in terms of pitching.
I mean, well, first of all, you talk about next level, well, you have to go higher than that. I mean, it's the command, it's the calm. It's the fact that he threw 96 pitches yesterday and came back and then closes this game out. I mean, mastery, didn't lose any velocity within the day. He was painting control. I mean, that's almost impossible to do back to back.
Every bit of the arsenal was available.
Every
to
bit.
him. And he became just the second pitcher. I want to make sure I get this right. Second pitcher in the last 50 years to win 3 World Series games in 1 World Series. But specifically to Will Smith. Him stepping on it on the top of the 11th gives the Dodgers the lead with that solo shot. What did you see him seeing there?
Well, Will Smith is highly underrated in some respects, right? 3-time clutch all year. He's hit a lot in the middle of the order. So you hear about Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. Well, Will Smith has been carrying the team earlier in the season. So it's not shocking that he has this kind of pop, but he got hot. Sometimes when he gets in that pull mode, he's got the power to go with it.
And he played the hero when it counted tonight with that big decisive homer. This is new on SportsCenter. Will Smith, World Series hero, speaks.
Will Smith described that incredible Game 7.
That was awesome. That was the epitome of this series. Just 2 really good teams. That's a really good Blue Jays team, man. It's a really good offense. They pitched really well. It was going to be a fight. We knew that. And then, 7 games. 18-inning game in Game 3, extra innings this game. That was just a fight, and couldn't be more proud of this group of guys.
What did you see in Miguel Rojas tying the game with a home run?
Yeah, that was huge. Obviously down a run. That was incredible. We were so fired up. We needed a little spark there. Obviously, he got it done, and that was great. That was awesome. He's battling.
All right, you came to the plate against Bieber. What was your thought?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a pitch to hit. Luckily, it snuck over the wall there and put us up a run. I was fired up after that. That was awesome.
Everyone was pitching in. Yamamoto today, the day after he pitches in Game 6. What'd you see in him?
Man, he's the MVP of this series. That was special what he did. The 2 starts, complete game. Pitching yesterday, 6 innings, coming out today. I told him yesterday he needed 1 for us to win today. He gave us 3. That's just pure fight out of him, pure grit. That's who he is. He's just a fighter. Good, he's one of the best pitchers on the planet, and he showed it.
Last one, you're the first team in 25 years to go back-to-back. What does that mean?
It's incredible. It's a lot of hard work the last 2 years. Last year's team was special. That run to win it was amazing. We came in with the goal this year to repeat, and we did it. We finally achieved that goal.
Side of Toronto, where there is a likely stunned Rogers Center, and we have the pleasure of being joined by one Tim Kirchin here on SportsCenter. Tim, this is your 44th World Series, 26th Game 7. Where do you rank this World Series in all of the fall classics that you've had the absolute pleasure of covering?
Right. This is the greatest World Series that I have ever covered. Game 3 was unbelievably good. The 9th inning of Game 6 was something that nobody's ever seen before. And tonight, we got the 6th extra inning game in a Game 7. This is one of the greatest Game 7s ever played. This series was unbelievably good from the beginning to the end, and just all the storylines that we saw were just incredible. The Blue Jays played so well, and yet the Dodgers still found a way to win this game. This is why baseball is the greatest game ever, and there is nothing in sports better than baseball in October.
It feels like you can witness history each and every time you enter a ballpark, and you certainly have this evening with Yoshinobu Yamamoto's performance, winning both games 6 and 7 in this series. When you watch what he pulled off in this one, how would you characterize his performance?
Well, this is one of the greatest single postseason performances by a pitcher in the history of the game. He won 3 games in the World Series. He won Game 6, and then he won Game 7. He's only the 4th pitcher ever to win 6 and 7, first since Randy Johnson in 2001. He threw 96 pitches in Game 6, and then came back 2 2/3 scoreless and threw 34 pitches. This guy is an alien when it comes to pitching. It's unbelievable. He throws the javelin before games. He does a stretching routine that nobody else can do. He is a one-of-a-kind sort of pitcher, and he's one of the greatest pitchers in baseball, and boy, did he show it in tonight, and especially in the entire World Series.
3 games won, we mentioned it, and now has become the first pitcher since 2019 to win World Series MVP. So your point, well taken, Tim Kirchin, when it comes to what he has done from a historical basis. To go back to the other element of this win, Will Smith hitting that home run in the top of the 11th to take the lead. When that crack of the bat occurs, what goes through your mind?
Well, I knew that ball was gone as soon as, and he had a broken hand that really still hasn't healed, and yet he hit a home run to end up winning this game. Miguel Rojas tied this game in the 9th inning with a home run to join Bill Mazeroski as the only players in Major League history to hit a game-winning or game-tying home run in Game 7 of the World Series. This is the same Miguel Rojas who saved Game 6 with 4 terrific defensive plays. This is a stunning comeback by the Dodgers to come into this ballpark, which is such a noisy and difficult venue to play, win Game 6 and win Game 7, and for the last 6 years now, a player named Will Smith has played on the World Series champion. Amazing.
Unbelievable stuff, man. We appreciate that. Now, to get one more in here, the perspective, what can you provide on Shohei Ohtani's postseason overall, right? Because we saw the legendary performance in the LCS, just everything that he has been for this Dodger squad.
Right. Well, Game 3 was one of the most remarkable World Series performances ever. He batted 9 times and reached all 9. 2 doubles, 2 homers, and then 5 walks. 4 of them intentionally, 3 with nobody on base. He got his hits in other games, and even though he didn't pitch particularly well for his standards, to watch him is like watching the greatest player that we've ever seen. I'm not sure there's a way around that, but he got an awful lot of help from this offense, and it's just stunning to watch him. It's breathtaking to watch that guy pitch and play. Just look at the box score today. It's pitcher hitting leadoff. That has never happened in the history of the World Series. It's incredible.
Well, as great as Ohtani is, he's not even the MVP. Yoshinobu Yamamoto,
right.
Amazing. Did his best Randy Johnson impression in Game 7. Started Game 6, was brilliant. Then came into relief for Game 7 to seal the deal. The last pitcher to do that, of course, the big unit. 2001 against the Yankees. Johnson won co-World Series MVP that year with Curt Schilling. So, as amazing as that was, Doug Glanville, I got to say, you look at what he did, and obviously deserving of the MVP, but just talk about Ohtani and Yamamoto and what he does for this, what they do for this Dodgers team.
Well, just think about the signings, right? First, the Dodgers had to get Shohei Ohtani, right, in the sweepstakes, and they pulled it off, deferred his salary, made some room, and then he was part of the recruiting process to bring Yamamoto here and then Sasaki. And what a find, because you already had Ohtani, who was recovering from surgery, but then he was going to pitch this year. And so that first year, Yamamoto got his feet wet, and we saw someone who has like the top ranking of command, 80 command, with all his pitches. So once you have that, and then you don't even need a bullpen. And that's the kind of old school of Yamamoto. And then he comes back the next day after throwing 96 pitches. So that's a cultural shift that, the Dodgers last year won, it was all their bullpen. This year was the starters, and they show their adaptability. So although they have a deck of stars, they also have a manager that kind of knows how to maneuver those stars, which is not easy because you have the egos, and he finds a way to get them pulling in.
To adapt, given how Toronto was pitching them.
Yeah, I mean, they pitched well. Will Smith mentioned it in his interview. Like, they were locking them down because they weren't getting 3-run homers, and they were just kind of chipping away a solo here and there. You felt like their offense was up against the ropes the whole series. And, a lot of credit goes to the Blue Jays. But they showed that they have some versatility on how they can push runs across.
Dave Roberts, masterful in this series. This is new on SportsCenter. Let's hear from him with Buster Olney.
Dave Roberts, back-to-back championships for the Dodgers.
Oh my God, this is crazy. I mean, we started out in Tokyo and we ended up in Toronto, and I just couldn't be more proud of these guys, this organization, the fight that we had, our backs against the wall. No one panicked, no one wavered. My message has always been, you guys got to keep believing each other. And if they believe in each other, I'll believe in them. And, guys like Miggy, Yamamoto, Will Smith, all the way down the line, Mookie coming up big, Muntz, just Glass, the young kids, Robo, She, and all these guys did it. So it's a huge group effort, and we're two-time champions, back-to-back champions.
Emotional moment for you when Rojas hits the home run, it looked like.
You know what, Buster? I always tell our guys, the game honors you. And the way he takes it every single day, a great teammate, plays the right way, says the right things. The game honored him in that moment.
Congrats, Doc.
Thank you, guys.
It sure did. I told these guys earlier, this game was so good, I wish both teams could win. It was just that good. The Blue Jays, by the way, they're the fourth team ever to lead in the 9th inning or later of a winner-take-all World Series game and lose. The Yankees were the last to do it in 2001 when Luis Gonzalez walked them off. And to the losers, we got to talk about them. Honestly, one of the best games I've ever seen. Forget about Game 7 World Series. Just spectacular. I want to get your perspective on what we just saw. Jessica, starting with you, what's your reaction to maybe a Game 7 for the ages?
First of all, we got 8.5 games in this World Series, and we knew that this one was going to go extras because that's kind of how this entire World Series has been. But ultimately, to see on both sides, both Bichette come out the 3-run home run, the defensive plays, the takeaway hits from the Dodgers, and Mickey Rowe in that 9-hole. Yamamoto, are you kidding me? Stuff that we didn't think we'd see. Of course, we'd see it in this Game 7.
What was really cool about this whole thing? We're doing the manager meetings, and then we asked Dave Roberts, is Yamamoto available? And he said yes. And I think everyone in that room, their eyebrows and mine included, it raised it. It reminded us is able to hit that home run. First home run off a right-handed pitcher, and he does it in one of the biggest stages forever. Miguel Rojas' name, Will Smith's name, and Mr. Yoshinobu Yamamoto's name are going to be intertwined forever in the history of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
The amount of championship lore associated with the Dodgers overall has to just be insane at this point, going back-to-back as a champion. I asked Doug Glanville this earlier, Eddie, but the championship medal, where did it show up for you most when you watched this Dodgers squad?
The championship moment, you mean? I'm
medal.
Sorry, because it's so loud here right now. The win, the championship. Look, this is going to be special for them because a lot of people, they knew that clubhouse there knew that the Toronto Blue Jays weren't going to be an easy task. If you look at the Toronto Blue Jays, they played a 7-game tough series against the Seattle Mariners. They had a tough road here, going against the New York Yankees, Seattle Mariners, then taking it all the way, having 2 games to win, coming back home, and they could not pull it off. But it was the the LA Dodgers that they did
Tokyo, they were the first. This is the first time we've ever seen in MLB history. It started in another country and in another country, but the path that the Dodgers had, everyone thought it was going to be easy. They're like, you're buying all these guys. It was not an easy one. They struggled. And honestly, this Toronto Blue Jays team was a better team throughout this series. But the big moments came in huge. And honestly, the Dodgers had their best offensive performance in this Game 7.
So guys, can you talk about the difference between the 24 Dodgers winning the World Series and the 25? Because we saw a lot of relievers hold it down last year, and now the starters. So what did you see the difference? You guys covered both series.
The starting pitching. For us, it was the starting pitching. And Doug, you were alongside us watching step by step, listening to us as well, and commenting with it. And you know that Dave Roberts asked more from his starters than he ever did. And this postseason, starting in October and ending now in November 1st, or maybe it's 2nd already. Wow, what a way of being able to lean on his starters. He did it differently, and he's not going to get as much credit as he should. But that's a tough team to manage, and he was able to manage it brilliantly.
And they did it without a closer. I mean, think about it. They signed Tanner Scott. They went out and got Kirby Yates. They got two dudes. They paid a whole lot of money to be in moments like this. They weren't even on the roster. They weren't able to produce. So they had to. Dougie, to your point, what they leaned on so heavily, bullpen arms, they went out and got more to be a better bullpen team on paper this year. But that's not how the script played out. And thank goodness they went out and got all those starting pitchers that came in to be their bullpen for this Game 7.
And how about their international stars, right? You start the game out with Shohei Ohtani and you end it with Mr. Yamamoto. Not bad. Not